Hello everyone, CrystalFissure here. Today I'm here in the flesh once again to talk about Crash Bandicoot. As you've probably seen all over Reddit, Twitter, social media, everyone is up in arms, not in a bad way, about the new Crash Bandicoot leaks. So there were originally some leaks that were from 4chan, which were basically disproven by a bunch of people, including Canadian Guy A, and just really anyone that could sort of figure out the patterns of how you can basically do a fake leak. But in the wake of that, we ended up getting some far more credible leaks. And I won't go into super detail about how they came to light, but basically they scoop different industries. One of them scoops like more Nintendo stuff, and one of them scoops usually movies and TV. But they got a scoop about Crash Bandicoot. And long story short, what I'd rather sort of do, rather than just talk about all the detail of the leak, rather sort of delve into where I think the direction of Crash is going in the next few years. And based on these leaks, and hopefully with a game announcement, at the end of the year, we end up getting some really cool stuff. So long story short, these guys leaked this information, and basically the direction of Crash Bandicoot, the next game, is going to be an original game, so a new game. It's going to be sort of more in the Naughty Dog style still. They didn't specifically mention like warp rooms and stuff like that, but more almost like Mario 3, where you have like the worlds and sort of the hub worlds, and then you delve into each level. But really the interesting thing to me is that it almost feels like vaguely Twinsanity based, because what they're going to be doing is basically one of the gameplay elements is, so you'll be playing as Crash or Coco. And you'll be running through a level, and there'll be obstacles and stuff like that, like in the original Crash Bandicoot series. But what's going to be happening is you're going to have Cortex. You're going to be actually playing as Cortex and be able to set up those obstacles. So it's almost like you're getting the full story of the Crash Bandicoot levels. Which, to be honest, it's funny, and I think I remember talking. I feel like I talked about this in LPs. Literally like maybe half a decade ago, but I always wanted something where it's like you play as Cortex and like you're doing the bad stuff, and kind of like actually providing a storyline as to why the levels are like laid out the way they are. I know that from a lore perspective it's always going to be platforming, and technically it wouldn't make any sense in real life, but setting up like obstacles and stuff like that is actually, I think, a really smart way of sort of evolving the series while keeping it still in line with Crash Bandicoot, and making sure it's not just going full 3D open world, but instead kind of expanding things out. Someone else made a comparison or a reference to Mario 3D World. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but which is, if you look at the footage from that game, that's a bit more you're still like sort of constrained, but there's little bits where you might go out in the blue. Personally, when I think about what I want from the Crash Bandicoot series, I really like the idea of having like almost open world hub worlds, or at least like Spyro-esque hub worlds, and then more linear, more typical levels with different paths and stuff like that. So kind of almost like a Crash 3.5, or really, and I always talk about this too, but Wrath of Cortex actually has some really good stuff with the switching from vehicle to platformer and stuff like that. And Crash 2 had that with the jet ski, but Crash 3 really didn't have that. You hopped on a vehicle for the whole level, and I never liked that. So what I would love to see with these levels would be fantastic is, for example, if you started on the motorbike, or you started on the vehicle and then you went to the platforming, or you started on the platform and then you went to the vehicle, and maybe that'd be weird for relic times and stuff like that, but I mean, Wrath of Cortex did it fine, and I think it was perfectly fine. So these leaks, apparently it looks like that it's going to be a 2020 release, coming next year. Of course, we've got to consider the new consoles that should be launching by the end of the year. I still think that if they indeed announce the game in December of probably the game show, whatever, the Game Awards or whatever it is, I think that then you'll get the typical marketing Activision 5 to 7 months, 6-ish months of where you're actually promoting the game. And this is what they've done. They did that with Spyro, got extra because of obviously the delay, but Crash was announced was it last year we got Crash Team Racing announced, 2016 we had Crash announced around the same time. So basically they have this plan, June release. It seems like the June, July is basically where the children's games, or games aimed at kids, come out, and so I think that's good. That means you get like, you know, full half a year to promote the game. I think that's fantastic. So really, I would say that it would still be a PS4, Xbox One, you know, Nintendo Switch PC release, maybe PC a bit later. Maybe they won't care as much about exclusivity because it's actually a new game, you know, like maybe, you know, with PC, you know, having it like a time release is more because Sony wanted it, but now it's like, because it's like a new IP sort of thing, it's like actually new, not new IP, but new content within the series rather than like rehashes. Maybe they won't care as much. But to me, it's a really, really good sign for the Crash series that they're keeping it like this. The one of the original sort of rumored leaks, which is proven to be false, that one had it more being open world. And while I think Crash can do that, it can do that eventually, I think that easing you into that is a smarter idea, and actually having this whole thing where you play as Cortex is seriously fantastic. What they really need though is, you know, the lore to, like, I feel like this means they really can actually care about the lore of Crash Bandicoot. And, you know, we've been seeing this with Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel. You know, there's a fantastic roster of characters here from all sorts of games that we can re-establish. You know, we can re-establish, you know, guys like from yeah, you could re-establish guys from, you know, Twinsanity. You could have, you know, the evil twins. You could have, I know that they're not even in Nitro Field yet, but, you know, you could have like the Nitro Kart bosses. You could somehow like implement all these different things, Pasadena, Von Clutch, all that. You could actually put that in the game, and it actually would mean, you know, it means something, because we know that they're from the original series, but you could reintroduce them. Crunch, of course, Crunch was, you know, a huge part of Nitro Fuel, so I think that they're probably going to go with Crunch in, you know, in this new Crash direction. I guess that leaves you wondering as well about Spyro. It looks like maybe we won't get a Spyro game next year, which, you know what, judging by the development time of Reignited Trilogy, which was, you know, clearly, they never fully admitted it, but, you know, if you dig deep enough, you know that they barely got a year, which is, personally, I think that's unacceptable. It needed more time. But if they're going to now indeed, you know, do a new Spyro game in 2021, developed by Toys for Bob, and, you know, they usually get like the other developers helping them out, like Beanox and you know, Vicarious Visions and stuff like that. You know, if we get that, that means we're going to get like 2 to 3 years worth of development on Spyro, which is a huge, huge advantage for the, you know, the eventual 4th Spyro game. So, you know, judging by Activision's investor calls, you know, they talk about how it was important, how, you know, Crash and Spyro are important to them, and, you know, like Crash Team Racing made them a lot of money. This is a very good sign for the Crash and Spyro series, and the fact that they're, you know, going in this direction, I think is going to please a lot of the more hardcore gamers that want that kind of real platforming challenge, but also satiating the new people that kind of want to see it evolved a little bit more. And, you know, as I said, keep saying, the Cortex thing. One last thing as well is that there will be apparently new masks that will be developed by Vicarious Visions. Of course, when we say that, Vicarious Visions, there will be help from Toys for Bob. Remember the leak a while ago with the different, like the sort of more modern models of some of the guys from the Toys for Bob office? You know, that proves that, you know, there's going to be multiple developers, and this is a really smart way of developing these games. Having these different teams, you have one team doing the core stuff, and then you have the other team, you know, doing some of the art and maybe some of the design and stuff like that. That's fantastic. And you know, for the first time in a while, I'm really, really positive about the future of both series. So yeah, just want to quickly talk about it. Vicarious Visions, looking forward to seeing what you guys can showing off alongside everyone else. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Crash and Spyro fan. Just thought I'd give you that quick update. I know most of you have already seen it, you know, before. But that's all right. Better late than never. Or sometimes, you know, you can do it whenever. I don't have to, you know, set to a schedule. I don't have to do it the second it comes out. But I know that, you know, you wanted to hear what I had to thought. You wanted to hear what I had to thought. Gee, I'm honestly sounding like Tim Heidecker from On Cinema at the Cinema, where he just completely botches everything. But that's like part of the charm. But hopefully, yeah, alright, rambling. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. See ya.